Hey guys, welcome to Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. My name's Sarah. I'm married to Mark and we have 8 kids at home. We have 10 kids total and we've already graduated 3 of them. So I am doing a video today about homeschooling. I have had 2 moms reach out to ask questions and I'm not going to give details of their family, but I wanted to answer their questions in video form. So hopefully it can be helpful to someone else also. So this mom that wrote to me is asking about high school. Because we have now graduated 3 of them, and how did we get our children ready to go through high school? How did we keep transcripts? All of those things. And so I'm just going to add a little of our story. My story isn't someone else's story, and so I'm not saying this is the right way to do anything. I'm saying this is the way that we did, and I hope that something I say can help you in your journey. But again, this isn't here's how you do homeschool high school. This is how we did homeschool high school. So take it for what it is. So we have homeschooled for a long time, and each of our children that have graduated so far, we have a almost 30-year-old son, we have a 22-year-old daughter, and we have an 18-year-old daughter. And our oldest son, I'm not going to talk so much about him because he was not part of our, we started the channel here after he had already moved out of the house. But he started homeschooling in 1st grade. We homeschooled him all the way through. He did not have a desire to go to college while we were homeschooling. But afterwards he did ask to go to college. So we got his transcripts together to send off to the college. And then he decided on his own not to pursue going through the full schooling process, and was able to just get jobs in the field that he wanted to work in that didn't require college. So that's what happened with him. But while he was going through schooling, he did have the opportunity to take some computer classes where he was actually able, this is something that high school students can do. He was able to take computer classes that had he you take the computer class and at the end you take a test. And when you pass that, you can get a certification to go on to work on computers. I don't think that specific class he took is available anymore, so I'm not going to link anything below for that. But those classes are available, and sometimes you can get those credits to be able to pass a certification type program when you're in high school before you even go off to college. So leaving that at that. With my girls, so far my next 2 are 22 and 18. Neither of them wanted to pursue college. We talked with both of them before they started high school, just to kind of see what they would like to do. And both of the girls wanted to pursue being a wife and mom. And they have their own interests in different things, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But neither of them wanted to go on to do a college level grade schooling for what they were doing. But when we start high school, you want to keep transcripts of what classes your kids are taking. And this doesn't have to be super meticulous, depending on what your student wants to do in the future. If you are looking to work in a trade, or if you're looking to be able to pursue your learning on your own, a transcript can be as easy as saying English 1, here's the score, English 2, here's the score. If you are looking to go off to college, you're going to want to look at what your college is going to require. So a lot of people already have an idea of where they would like to go to school. So let's say your child is interested in doing nursing and they're interested in going to the University of Tennessee or the University of Maine. And so look at what those schools require, because some require foreign language or a few years of foreign language. Some require that you do a specific math. Like most colleges want you to have algebra 1, algebra 2, geometry, but some also want trig. You know, it depends on what you're kind of going to school for, what your college is looking for. So you're going to want to look those things up towards the start of your high school career and be able to write those down so that you don't forget throughout the time to give them the trig course or whatever it is. If your child is looking to go for more of a like liberal arts, just kind of know what colleges are looking for and just make sure you get those in. So what I would do is at the start of high school, I would ask a child, what are you interested in? Are you interested in going off to college? Again, it's good to still have this transcript of knowing what your child took throughout the time, even if they're not going to college, but you're going to need to be more meticulous if their college is going to need it. But ask them, what are you looking to pursue? If you are not looking to pursue something that you need to go through college, how are we going to get you the information that you need? If you're going to go into the medical field, like a higher level in the medical field, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a nurse, you want to be an x-ray tech, those types of things are going to need schooling. And so you will have to go off to a college. But if you're looking to do something like plumbing or carpentry, you could work through like a tech school or through like an apprenticeship program. And to do those things, you don't necessarily need to have specific high school classes, because some kids might go work at age 16 for a local carpenter and be taught the things that they need to learn on the job. So you're going to want to see where your child wants to go and how you're going to get them there. There are a lot of courses offered online that would allow your child to get credit towards the thing that they want to work on. So if you have a child who's interested in photography, let's say, there are a lot of classes you can take that you could then go to job shadow with a photographer and say, I've already worked on this, this, and this for skills. I'm not in photography. I'm just trying to give an idea of something. So see kind of what your child is interested in. Once you figure out what your child is interested in, I just realized my lighting is really bad because of where I'm sitting in the room. So I'm sorry about that. Once you figure out what your child is interested in, figure out how you can work with them to accomplish that goal and get the high school credits that are necessary for your state. For my state, we do not have specific, you must have trigonometry to graduate. It says that I need to be teaching math every year, and my kids, like, we don't have to take a test in Maine to graduate our child. So I'm going to continue teaching my child through the things, through the math courses, going higher and higher, but towards the goal that they want. So Samuel wants to work in some type of either computer trade, or he wants to work like carpentry hands-on. So for him right now, he's taking a consumer math program because that is very important for him to know how to budget, to know how to do his taxes, to know how to write out his checks. That's very important. So that is the class that he's taking. As he gets higher in his computer learning, he might have math that's necessary for that. Samuel is my 15-year-old. For my daughters, they were not interested in learning higher math like trig. So we worked through math classes at their level and continued progressing as they learned. So my daughter, who is 22, is married and moved out of the house, and she knows how to budget for her food within her household. She knows how to take care of bills within their family. Her husband is self-employed, so they do not, not that you couldn't, but because of some things that came up this year, they actually had someone do their taxes for them to make sure that the taxes were done because of the other things, to make sure they got all the boxes checked. But she had helped us in the past do our taxes and knew what the tax forms looked like and everything. She, I know people would say, oh, well, it's just cooking or whatever, but she has worked a farmer's market where she had to, know how to give change and all of that. But also she had to figure out how much to double, quadruple, I don't know, whatever the recipe to be able to sell those products. She had to learn how to figure out how much is this product costing me so that I can charge a certain amount so that I can get a profit. Those are all very important skills to have. Those are the things that she is using her math skills for right now. I'm not saying that she'll never use them for anything else. That's just what she's using right now. And as she comes across, not in math necessarily, because this isn't it, but as she comes across something new that she wants to learn, like she taught herself sourdough once she left our house. So she knows how to make sourdough really well, and people actually ask her to bring sourdough to things because they enjoy her sourdough. And it's a skill she learned all on her own. She learned how to write after she left high school. Not that she didn't know how to write before she left high school, but she pursued writing books through high school, and then after she finished another book, and has self-published 3 books that she had to learn how to do the self-publishing and how to write a good book and all of those things. She took an ASL class online after she graduated because she was interested in ASL. And I wanted to say with this video that the purpose of education is to teach your child the things that they need to know so that they can go on to do the things that they want to do in life. The purpose of schooling that happens in a public school is that everybody can pass the same test and has been taught the same information, but it doesn't actually prepare you for the thing that you want to pursue in life. Now, education within a schooling system where you have to take the test at the end does give you a lot of information. And if you are a certain kind of student, that can help you with the career that you're going to do. I went to school, like I was public schooled the whole way through. I was planning to be a teacher when I left school. And so the things that I learned in school were very helpful for me in what I was going to pursue after, because it was all the things that I was going to teach the next generation. But I missed out on being able to pursue things that I was really passionate about because I was busy doing the required classes and spending all my time doing those. So I was not super interested in physics, but I took physics because it was needed for me to go to college. And I wish that I had spent more time pursuing other things like student teaching in a classroom, because I was going to be working with kids with special needs, and I wish I had had more time to pursue that. But because in high school you have to take so many classes, like in a public school, you have to take so many classes and fill out so many credits, and they have to fit these boxes, I wasn't able to spend that much time as I would have liked to. So as a public school student, you don't have to do that. Math class does not need to take 45 minutes. Now, a math class might take 45 minutes because you're not quite understanding the concept or you're ready to work more that day. But there are days that our math class takes 15 minutes because the child, and this is on their own level, I'm not saying I'm having my 15-year-old do the 5-year-old's math, so on his own level. But if the 15-year-old is like, oh, I totally understand this idea of percent, and if there's a sale, if I want to buy $120 worth of wood and there's a 30% off sale, how much that is, I totally understand this concept, and he's able to work through the problems. Math class might take 10 minutes that day. I'm not trying to keep him up with the rest of the class. But I also can spend an entire week or 2 or a month on percentages if he doesn't understand it, because it is very important for your child to fully understand a concept before you push forward. And I think we tend to push children through because we think, oh, okay, they are in 5th grade, they need to be doing 5th grade math. Well, in the public school system, there are a lot of kids that are just pushed on to the next grade when they're not really ready. But if they didn't truly understand 4th grade math, they're not going to be able to keep up with 5th grade math because these concepts build on top of one another. So if you have a 5th grader who's working on 2nd grade math, but you're working with them until they totally master that concept and they're ready to go to the next section, maybe they're going to have a really hard time with decimals. But once you get to fractions, they just fly through it because they understood the concept of decimals and they were able to apply it to fractions. Or maybe your child's really, really struggling with multiplication and you're like, we're never going to get through this. Don't push them on to the next thing. Keep working on that multiplication. Keep helping them to understand fully, why does multiplication work? Because when they get to division, they're going to have a much easier time because the two are related. And this works with all kinds of concepts. If your child is in 7th grade, but they never truly figured out what a noun and a verb is, they're going to have a really hard time learning to diagram a sentence if they never got that basic concept back then. And I'm not saying you need to sit down with noun and verb worksheets because that is not what I do here in the household. But I'm saying that if they don't understand the concept, there are concepts way above them that they're going to have a really hard time figuring out if they didn't master the earlier grades. I knew people who I graduated high school with that could not easily pass an 8th grade test. This was the end of 12th grade. They could not easily pass an 8th grade test because those skills had never been fully mastered by them. And they just kept getting pushed through. And it really was doing a disservice to them because they weren't learning more going to the next grade. They were being exposed to more and probably feeling more and more confused as time went on of this just doesn't make sense to me. So I want to encourage parents that your child needs you to work slow and steady with them. Being able to find something that they're passionate about is going to help them in that learning process. There are so many curriculums out there and you can jump from one curriculum to the other and feel like you've never really accomplished anything, but figure out what your child really loves and start them there. So maybe your child is really, really loving the ocean. They want to be a marine biologist. They want to work in the ocean. Well, find things that will help them to center their schooling around the ocean. Maybe you find a science book about animals in the ocean. And if they're 5th grade, but the 2nd grade science book focuses on the animals, get them the 2nd grade science book and let them explore that book and let them take rabbit trails where they're interested. Hey mom, it says here about the orca, blah, blah, blah. I want to learn more about this. We'll show them how to study on the computer to find out the answers that they're looking for. Help them find another book at the library that will help them explore that. Help them go to the local aquarium and ask the keepers. They will learn so much and they'll retain so much because they're interested in it. If I went right now to the aquarium and asked them about orcas, I might remember a fact or two because, hey, facts are cool, but I'm not really that interested in orcas. But if you've seen a kid who has a passion about something, like have you ever asked a kid who's really interested in baseball what their favorite player's stats are? They know them immediately. So help your kid to find out what they're passionate about and help them explore there. Help them find books. If you look at older books, there's a lot of books that are like what they would call living history books, where they tell a story, but you're learning facts through it. Help them find a book that talks about the animals in the ocean. We just read a book called The Curious Lobster. It was a really fun read aloud. So this lobster makes friends with a badger and a bear, and you learn about different animals that are in their environments. And so then you can go explore what these animals are. Oh, why does the lobster live between 2 rocks? What was he talking about? Sorry, I just got a pop-up. What were they talking about when he was talking about the trap that lifted the lobster up? Here in Maine, I know what a lobster trap is. I didn't have to go explain that to my kids. But if we lived in Tennessee where my daughter lives, they don't know what lobster traps are. So that would have been a fun exploration. And you can find all kinds of things online where you can find videos, you can find unit studies and that type of thing. One thing I would suggest, and I'm not paid by this company or anything, but I'm going to mention it in this video. Campfire Curriculum is a group. They are seem to be Christian based. I'm not going to go into their theology or anything because I haven't done a lot of their studies, but they do unit studies. So they have a one about zoology. And so you learn about the different animals, and you can do science and history, and they have it all in one unit, except for math. They have it all in one unit, and you deep dive into this unit that you're really excited about. So they have everything from zoology to surviving off the land to pirates. I'm trying to think, ER doctors, car maintenance. They have all kinds of things. So I would say if you are one of these parents who's looking for how do I go on with high school, I would suggest that you find what your child's passionate about and how can you get them to the goal that they're looking for. If your child is looking to work with animals, what does that look like? Does your child want to do the 8 years or whatever that's necessary to be a vet? Or does your doctor want to be able to work at the local like Humane Society and be able to take care of the cats and the dogs that are waiting for homes? Maybe your child wants to be able to work with horses, but they're not really interested in giving horse riding lessons. They just want to work in the barn and be able to, you know, brush the horses and take care. And all of those things might lead to a job, like a higher job. I don't want to say better job, because you know, if you're doing the thing that you're passionate about, we need people who are just going to take care of the horses, not give the riding lessons. But if your child starts with taking care of the horses and then works their way up to giving riding lessons, that's awesome too. I think that a lot of times we focus on our kids need to have a good job. And I think we need to have jobs that help them to be able to pay their bills, to be able to function in society. But we need garbage men. And we need people who are very passionate about their job of garbage and all of that stuff. There's actually a site, a YouTube channel called Practical Engineering, and it talks about just engineering in the real world. And one of them talks about how, what's it called? Like landfills, and how landfills work, and how they have to do all of this engineering to make sure that like the bad yuck from there isn't leaking out into our water system and everything. And for most of us, we just think, okay, so that's a dump. They just put some stuff there and, you know, they just fill it up till it's full and then they go put it somewhere else. But there's so much more to it. And we need people who are passionate about that. We need people, I was just watching a video last night of manufacturing, and most of our manufacturing jobs, like we have a lot of manufacturing jobs in America, but most of the people who make the machinery that does the manufacturing are made in China. So China does all the like intelligent work of making the machines, and now the machines come back to the United States and we're the ones who push the buttons. It used to be the opposite. We used to send the machines to China for them to do the cheap labor, and now they do the opposite. You can watch that video at Smarter Every Day. He just made one about making the Smarter scrubber, and it's all about making American-made parts to manufacture an item, and how they had so much trouble finding these American-made things, and we need to keep these skills going. We are very pushed as a society to think that college is the only way and it is the best way for everybody. But we have a lot of jobs in this country that do not require college, and we need these jobs. We need people who are going to be the stockers at the grocery stores to be able to get items. We need people who are going to be the truckers to get the items to the stores. We need the people who are going to work on the trucks to get the items to the stores. We need the people who are going to help with the whole oil refinery and gasoline products so that we can get those things to the store. We need the people who are going to build the gas pumps so we can get the stuff to the store. We need the people who are going to work the gas station as like the pump attendant or the cashier or whatever, so people can buy the gas. We need people who are going to build those gas stations. We need people who are going to be the architects to design those gas stations. We need the people who are teaching the architects. So in all of those things I said, some of those needed college jobs, but some of them didn't. And all of those things are to just get products on our shelf. But then we also need the people who are going to take care of the dump. We need the people who are going to take care of our sewer. Who's going to make the sewer for your town? There are so many jobs out there that don't require college. And we get very, very worried that our child doesn't fit into this box that public schools have made, that every child needs to do this and they need to graduate here and then they need to move on to college. What we need to do is think of education as there's this whole group of people who need to learn so that they can pursue their passions and be a useful member of society. How are we going to get them to their step, wherever that is up here? It's not necessarily through this college box. Also, I want to talk to Christian parents. One of the biggest job that you have as a Christian parent is to teach your child the Word of God and about God, who created them, who loves them, who is putting them in the place they are and has given them their specific gifts to work towards the thing that they want to do in the future. Why has God given your child the passions they have? Why has God given your child the unique personality that they have? Now, there are things that you need to help your child learn are not correct behaviors. Like if you're mad at someone, you're not allowed to go punch them. But maybe your child is very much a leader. Why has God made your child a leader? Use that as a strength instead of saying, my child is defiant. Say, how can I corral this defiance so that we can have an obedient child who we can train up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord, but not totally squash that out of them, because the fact that that God has made that child to be a leader, they need to be able to keep that and not think, oh, God made me wrong and my parents need to squash this. Help them rein it in to the proper place. Maybe your child is very much a follower, and you need to teach them that sometimes we need to step up and be able to make a decision in the group, or not just follow the person who's trying to lead you in the other way. But maybe God has made your child a follower for a reason. Maybe your child is supposed to be, second, third, fourth in a big company and be able to follow the leader really well because they're going to help the leader to succeed. I don't know what your child is, but maybe reframe your thought process on I'm failing my child to where are my child's interests, passions, and what unique gifts has God given my child, and how can I push my child to the person that God wants them to be. Not the person that I want them to be, but the person that God wants them to be. So I don't know if this totally answered the person who wrote me this email, and I hope that that person will write to me in the chat that they started with me so I can know what else I can answer, because I'd love to help you more on your personal situation. But I hope that someone found this useful. If you find it useful and think that a friend might benefit from it, please send it on. You can contact me here in the comments, or you can contact me on Facebook at Sara Cowperthwaite. But I hope that this was a help in some way. This is how we did high school. We kept transcripts on the things we did. We taught our children through their passions. I never talked about my second daughter. My second daughter, who just graduated recently, she has learned 2 languages on her own. She has learned guitar and piano and sings beautifully. And all of that, she wants to get married and have children. So she's waiting for God to bring her the right one. But in the meantime, okay, I ran out of storage and I had to go delete some stuff. So that daughter, she uses the internet very, very wisely to encourage others and to spread the gospel. She took a year to write a bill to help try to abolish abortion in Maine. It didn't pass, but she learned a lot about how our state works, or doesn't work so well, to listen to what people have to say, and working with legislators and working with lawyers to write that. She has pursued a lot of things that she's super interested in, and she wouldn't have had the time to do that had she been in a typical school setting. She was able to use her English, like this was after she graduated, but it would have been her English class to be able to write that bill and to learn all the legal mumbo jumbo that goes on, because there were people that were reading it and they're like, oh, it says this. And she's like, no, I talked to the lawyer. This part of the legal part means this part of things. And so she was able to do all of that because she was passionate about it, and she went and pursued that on her own. Now, if you have younger kids, you're going to have to help them with their pursuits. When you have older kids, you help them find the paperwork that they need. You help them find the curriculum they need to do those. But she is very happy at the moment living here within our home, being able to learn how to make new recipes because I give her free reign in the kitchen when she chooses to make something. She has time to sit and write these bills because I say, oh, you're interested in this, you need time, we're putting time aside. We took her out on the street so she could talk to people. We took her to the state house so that she could go talk to those representatives, gave her time to make those phone calls. You just need to figure out where your child wants to go and help them move in that way. If you go to a local church, maybe having a child job shadow with somebody who has a job that they're looking at, or going out into your community and finding somebody that you feel comfortable with them going to see what that job looks like. I did a bunch of job shadowing in high school to find out that there were things that I didn't really want to do. And I'm glad that I was able to see, okay, this isn't something I want to spend all my life doing. And I didn't put too much of my time and effort into that instead of spending 3 years doing something that I was like, oh, this is what this job looks like. Nope, not for me. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I hope I wrapped that up okay because of the video stopping. But again, you can find me or ask questions down here. Find me on Facebook or ask questions down here. I hope that this was helpful to someone, and we'll see you guys next time on Herding Little Cows to the Glory of God. Bye.